So my name is Cindy Sim, and I am the CEO of Team Carepal. And I would love for you guys to share where you're from, who you are, where you're joining in from in the chat. With my team, we have Paisley Churchill, who is our Chief Product Officer, and Aditya Pawar, who is our Managing Marketer, and they will be kind of monitoring the chat for any questions that you guys may have. We are hoping to have a few minutes at the end for you guys to ask your questions, so feel free to write them down. First, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional territory on which we are gathered today. It is a welcoming place for peoples from around the world, and I would like to acknowledge and thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose footsteps have marked this territories for centuries, such as Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and Nakota Sioux. Do you guys know who the largest group of healthcare providers are in Canada? They are unrecognized, unpaid, and more often than not, completely unsupported. In fact, 1 in 4 Canadians fit into this group, and they are the family caregivers who are looking after a family member or a friend with an illness, disability, or aging needs. This group provides 90% of total care in our communities, which is valued at over $97 billion in unpaid labor per year just in Canada. Family caregivers are the backbone of our healthcare system, and it is time that they are recognized and supported by healthcare providers and integrated into the care plans. Team Carepal is a champion of caregiver-centered care. Caregiver-centered care is a collaborative working relationship between families and healthcare providers in supporting family caregivers in their caregiving role, decisions about services, care management, and advocacy. Today, you are going to have the opportunity to view a series of videos that are integral to the Caregiver-Centered Care Education Program. This initiative, led by Dr. Jasneet Parmar and Dr. Sharon Anderson, is tailored for health and social care professionals such as yourselves who are interacting with family caregivers. It is co-designed by caregivers and developed under the guidance of the University of Alberta. Paisley Churchill will drop the link in the chat, and we encourage every single one of you to share it with your organizations and to take this education because it is pivotal to the future of our healthcare. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the Fawcett family. I'm going to share my screen.
I'll see you on Wednesday, Mrs. Fawcett. Oh, hi, Chad.
Hey, how did Mom do today?
She's getting stronger. We had a good session. We'll have another on Wednesday.
Cool.
Looks like your family's home.
I didn't think it happened. She lifted her stick and I got it in. Chad, I scored a goal.
Good for you, Carly.
Well, run up and tell your mom. I'm sure she'll want to hear all about it. Hi. Are you one of Leanne's nurses?
A PT, physical therapist. My name's Natalie.
Hi, I'm John Fawcett. And you've met Chad over here. And that whirlwind that went rushing past you upstairs is Carly. How's Leanne doing?
Good. Tired, though. She's frustrated that stroke recovery can be so slow.
We're all frustrated with that.
Chad, adjust. We all depended on Leanne. She was always so healthy. The stroke has been like a thunderbolt for our family. It's still pretty new for all of us.
Of course. Recovery isn't just hers, is it? I should get out of your way now. You have your hands full.
Oh, you have no idea. Carly has hockey 3 times a week, and she has skiing lessons on the weekend. Chad's on the swim team, which means early mornings. We're all on different sleep schedules. Leanne needs help eating. She needs help getting from room to room. Mostly, I carry her. I sort through her pills, and I pick up the new one at the pharmacy. Chad's given up his bedroom for the rehab equipment. He's sleeping on a couch in the basement now. Carly needs new glasses. The roof is leaking. Car needs repairs. We've lost Leanne's income, and I'm not always able to work from home. We've been to the clinic and the hospital twice each this month. And when Leanne's asleep, I worry that she's having another stroke. She gets frustrated with me when I can't understand what she wants. Well, I get upset too. Yesterday I found her in the kitchen crying because she'd forgotten how to make a sandwich. So, can you help with any of that? Well, thanks for all that you can do.
Team Carepal surveyed many caregivers like John a couple years ago, and we learned that on average, they use 7 different tools to manage their caregiving role. This was pieces of paper there, notes over there, emails, messages. Caregivers were missing appointments, things were very segmented, and they weren't organized. This didn't allow for collaboration with their support networks. So we went back to the drawing board and we put all the tools that caregivers were needing into Team Carepal app. Caregivers don't usually plan on being a caregiver. It happens overnight, an accident, a diagnosis, and their worlds are changed in an instant. Not only are they trying to process what just happened to their loved one, but now they get thrown information from many different areas and it becomes very overwhelming. Team Carepal is a tool that will allow John to keep it all in one place. After hearing how John was struggling with his many caregiving responsibilities, Donna used our CRM to set John up with a Team Carepal app. Team Carepal will help John stay organized all in one place while caring for Leanne, and he can invite his friends and family to help. In the app, this is Team Carepal app, and you can access it on any app stores. It is a pay what you can model, and only one person pays with a sliding scale. John was able to come in here and he was able to add his sister and his child Chad as caregivers. Being a caregiver user allows them to have more features such as making announcements to their community, keeping people updated all in one place. They are allowed to add appointments to their calendars, and they were able to collaborate together on advanced care planning and how Leanne was doing in the caregiver journal. John was able to invite community users such as like the coaches and from the hockey team and sports teams to help support him and the kids and anything else that the family might need. It is very easy to invite everyone into one community where they can all support one another. We have a beautiful social feed where John is able to share things with the community, and the community, like Coach Chris, was able to share how Carly was doing that day and how she won her game. John was able to announce how Leanne was finally at home, even though she was quite tired. She just, she was happy to be in her own bed. And when she settles into a routine, he's going to let his community know when she is ready for visitors. John is able to organize some really cool, all the medical appointments and any kind of events that are going on in the calendar with all of his other community members. If Leanne was having a birthday, or if he wanted to organize a work bee, or even just putting all of the visits and clinic visits in here so that him and Chad and his sister can all stay organized together. We have a beautiful task list feature in here for John. One thing with caregivers is that they have a really tough time asking for help. Not only are they overwhelmed, but they just maybe don't have the time to pick up the phone or don't have the courage. And so this was a big barrier for family caregivers. Well, they could, make a list of things that they need help with. They were really scared to ask for that help. So this removes that barriers for caregivers where they can list an incredible amount of options for their community to come in and take ownership of. Maybe it's moving Chad's bed down into the basement so he's a little bit more comfortable than sleeping on the couch. Or maybe, just helping go shopping with Carly to get her some new glasses. But once a community member takes ownership of a task, it goes into their task list and they get reminded of it, and everybody can stay on the same page. Caregivers have a hard time staying organized, like I said, with all the medical appointments that they're going to and all the different specialties that they're trying to stay on top of. Carly or John, his sister, and Chad are able to stay organized in here. They made a section in the journal on Leanne's well-being, to see how often, she's frustrated or maybe just how well she's doing with some of her activities. They were able to build out question and answers for their specialties so that they can be prepared to ask when they visit. And even when they go to see a doctor or have a medical appointment, they can actually record it right into Team Carepal app so that they can review it later on. We know that medical terminology is a really big pain point for family caregivers. There's so much that goes on in a doctor visits that this is a great way for them all to stay on one page and reassess. When we surveyed family caregivers, we cried with family caregivers a lot. We realized that caregivers are hitting burnout at an increasing rate. Their health and wellness is being sacrificed while they take on more and more caregiving responsibilities. So we've put in the caregiver burden inventory assessment tool in here. We prompt caregivers at the front here when assessments are due, and they are asked to come in and take an assessment. And based on their assessment scores, we track their burden levels in here for caregivers to not only get educated about themselves, but also to be empowered to take ownership of their own care and well-being. And then they can keep score of them down here. Currently, right now, we just have a simple thing that is set up for them that encourages them. But Team Carepal is launching our AI digital navigation bot in a matter of months. And our AI digital navigation bot, which I will show you guys later, will be responding to these caregiver burnout scores and helping caregivers get the help that they need so that we can reduce those burden levels. We know that when caregivers hit that burden level, especially when it increases at about that 20 hours of care per week, their role suffers. They are no longer to provide the care that they really want to. Their loved one risks being institutionalized unnecessarily. Their relationships, start to struggle. There is so much health and well-being that ends up and lies on, caregiver burdens. So this is one tool that we have thrown in here, and we're really excited for caregivers to take ownership of it. And the other really cool feature where our AI digital navigation bot is going to be put into the chat feature. When we surveyed caregivers, we realized very quickly that caregivers struggle at finding help. They don't know where to go for resources. A lot of times they aren't even identifying as caregivers. So it's not like they're searching up caregiver supports. So they have no idea what's out there. We are training our digital navigation bot on thousands of resources across Canada right now. These are vetted resources in a closed database that will be able to communicate with caregivers on what their needs truly are. Our AI digital navigation bot will understand where caregivers are located, their loved one's diagnosis, and be able to help them along the caregiving journey, whether it's looking for supports for their loved ones or just to help them with their mental health. And so we are super excited to be launching that because this is going to be a game changer for caregivers overall. Okay, now we're going to dive into our next movie.
Are you okay?
I've had a rough day at work. They want me to go full time. I got home an hour late and dinner was a mess. Carly was crying about her math homework because Leanne usually helps her with it. And, well, I was hopeless. I feel like I'm failing them. I'm failing Leanne. I'm failing myself.
It sounds like you feel like you're sinking.
When Leanne was finally discharged from the hospital, I had all this paperwork to sign, but I wanted to know what was in it. I wanted to know what to expect when Leanne came home, what I would do. But the discharge nurse, well, it was like I wasn't even in the room. There were a lot of discharges at that time, and she was distracted. But when she was leaving, she looked at me and she said, "You take care too." I was mystified. I looked at her like she was a lava lamp. I mean, she was speaking, but I had no idea what she was saying.
Oh, John, most days I feel like a lava lamp. Our healthcare system has a ways to go to be more effective with caregivers. But with our team, we respect your position in taking care of Leanne. I hope that things are better now than before.
Are you kidding? It's a world of difference.
We view it as a partnership, John. You and Leanne and our care team. With that approach, it's better for all of us.
And so that
Team Carepal launched a beta a year ago, and we put our app into the hands of a very diverse group of stakeholders. We asked them if we could build them a dashboard that could connect to the Family Caregiver app, what features would they want? After receiving an incredible amount of feedback from home care, long-term care, social worker, caregiver counselors, etc., we created the Team Carepal CRM. Our CRM allows organizations to engage with caregivers into the app and integrate them into the care team. This improves communication, care quality, strengthens family relationships, and enhances caregivers' well-being. So this is Donna's homepage where she can see a great many of analytic tools from her communities. She's got 5 communities like John's signed up under her. She can learn about their average burnout per community, how many are active, and even things about the communities, like their user relationships, where they are, and even what kind of conditions she's helping with. When she can go in to each of the communities are listed here, she knows that John Fawcett is looking after Leanne. So when she clicks into that community, it opens up a great option for her to connect right into John's app. So in here, she can see all of John's community members, so she knows how many caregivers are helping him. She can come in here and stay organized by keeping notes with John. So she has learned that John had mentioned he was worried that Leanne might have another stroke when she is sleeping. So he thought, peer-to-peer support might be a really good option for John to help him with his worries. So she has posted the Caregivers Alberta Caregivers Support Community event right into John's calendar. So she posted that right into here and it went right into John's calendar. So he was able to see this. Nobody else in the community does except for John. And so he can say whether or not he is attending. This way, John doesn't have to go looking for those supports while he's looking after Leanne. We can send it right into John's app. The other thing John had mentioned is that he and his kids are in very different sleep schedules. This is concerning when caregivers are not getting that sleep that they need. So we're going to send John sleep surveys weekly to monitor his sleep. So we have a beautiful survey feature in here. We've created the Stanford Sleepiness Scale, and we're going to send it to John once a week, and he will get prompted in his chat feature to take the survey, and we'll be able to see the results from that. We can create task lists in here specifically for John and his kids, for Leanne. If we are wanting to build out, social prescribing and actually monitor the outcomes on how well they are being done, this is a great feature. We also know that John has asked us for the disability pension plan application, so we can build out a journal chapter or journal section right into John's app, and he will always have the disability pension plan application right in it to his application when he goes into his journal. So he can see it right here. And so this CRM is a really great tool to allow organizations to connect directly with their families. Another really great feature is the fact that we have resources. We have heard from early stakeholders that have been on our CRM for a month now that they want to be able to send their education to caregivers. A lot of them have courses already built out and they want to be able to send them. So this is a great option that they can do that. They can add those in there. And the moment that an application or like John is connected to the CRM, he can actually go in here and he will see these resources populated. And so if you have a course that you're wanting to share with a family caregiver underneath your organization, this is a great way to do it. It's safe, secure, and you can monitor the outcomes with your family caregivers. The other thing you will have noticed in this app is that there is extra supports. Every CRM user of Team Carepal will have the option to be shown in our application So if a caregiver is downloading our app from the App Store and they are looking for more supports, they can come in here and they can filter based on their needs, whether they're looking for a home care, maybe they're looking for caregiver support orgs. They can do that in here, and then they can come in and look at what's available in their location. And then this will allow them to request a subscription, learn more about it, and then in the CRM, they actually get notified that they have a new family that's wanting to connect to them in the subscribed community areas. So this is a great opportunity to connect to new caregivers. You can send them an intake form, and you can get them going on the supports that they need. We also have a beautiful chat feature in here as well, which is really great to stay connected with the families. You know, I've been connected with John. He shared actually the caregiver burden inventory score with me because he had some questions on it and just concerns about his own mental health and well-being. So we are helping him with that. The other tools in here, you're going to see are a little bit duplication. We have heard feedback from our stakeholders that they would like the ability to send, you know, a post into all of their communities all at once, which they can do on the left-hand side. So if you're wanting to send a happy holidays announcement, you absolutely can do that from here. But this tool is just an incredible tool to deliver that caregiver-centered care right into the application. And you're also going to see with John in here that there was the ability for caregiver navigators. Team Carepal is launching and connecting with caregiver navigators across North America. A lot of our caregiving organizations, like the ones you see currently listed here, have signed up to be caregiver navigators. So what that means is if a caregiver were to filter by all the caregiver navigators, they can connect with these organizations, and they have committed to providing one free session to our caregivers. This session is designed to help caregivers navigate to their next step, utilizing our database of vetted services. So we're super excited about that as well. Before we go any further, we're going to dive in, and I am going to show you guys Zolo. This is a sneak peek of our new website, which we will be launching in a matter of weeks. I placed Zolo in here because she's not ready for the app yet, but I wanted to share with you, we have been training Zolo for weeks now on the different caregiver resources, and training an AI bot takes a lot of thought and consideration, what to do, what not to do, being culturally sensitive, being empathetic and compassionate towards caregivers. And we are super excited at how Zolo is doing. So I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek as to maybe a question that we can place in there. So Zolo typically will know all of the locations of our caregivers in the app, but I'm going to let Zolo know that I live in Edmonton. And that I am looking after my dad who has dementia, and I need help. We are training Zolo to provide tips and tricks, supports, and resources in those areas so that she can connect with them instantly without having to go and look for them, because it was such a big pain point. So Zolo is recommending the Alzheimer's Society, you know, giving the link. They're recommending Caregivers Alberta, of course, to give that support. And then the Edmonton Seniors Council, because they also support with dementia care. So Zolo is trained to be empathetic in the beginning, give some tips and tricks on maybe establishing a routine, simplifying the environment, practice effective communication, and then providing 3 top resources, you know, that could instantly help a caregiver with this. And then at the end, you know, Zolo is trained to check in with caregivers on how are you managing with your dad's dementia care? Do you need any additional support? So if I were to say, I am stressed, you know, Zolo then will dive a little bit further and, you know, empathizing with the caregiver. Yes, we understand your stress, you know, self-care is a big one, seeking support from families, respite care, you know, and then again, starting to connect them with those resources that can help her get past, you know, this barrier in which she is facing. You know, caregiver connections. So we have, and this is in Alberta, so we have all of AHS in here and all of caregivers supports already ready to go for launch. So we're super excited about that. I want to show you one last movie before we finish.
Partnership, if you've established it early, so that partnership, if you've established it early on with a family member from the very early assessment, now as things move along and we are at a new phase of this person's illness, we need to make sure we engage all the information, the knowledge, and the knowledge of the person, and knowledge of the things that work well for them or the things that don't work well for them in the new assessment. So for instance, when I'm caring for someone who's become much more fearful and reactive around their care needs, for instance, and often this might happen, for instance, in a nursing home, when we go to do a very detailed assessment to make sure we understand what's happening for that person or what things might be contributing, engaging their family member who sees them every day, who knows their style and their needs, and we may have forgotten what it was that was very important to this person, and we need to be reminded. So if we can engage family members in these discussions around with the whole team to sort of say, like, okay, so what's going on here? They will then feel more trusting of the interventions that we decide to try, and also the interventions that are developed will be so much more robust. It's hard to do that if you don't have a good working relationship with that family member, and that goes back to why you need to develop a trusting relationship upstream for when things do get difficult. If they, when they get difficult and you have that, it's gold.
In every passing decade, the quality and availability of healthcare to any ailing citizen has improved. And yet, even with all our ever-advancing knowledge, there remain pockets within the system that demand our attention, calling for positive change in attitudes and behavior. The world of caregiving is in fact one such area yearning for compassionate update.
As a healthcare system, we have a long road ahead. It's not difficult to find family caregivers who tell stories about failed care from the system, or such muddled communications between the family caregiver and the healthcare system that, on occasion, a measure of harm resulted rather than the intended care. We can do better. Not only better, but by partnering with family caregivers, we dramatically improve the quality of care, period.
When I began my career as a physical therapist a couple years ago, I came into the healthcare world thinking I had already learned a great deal. I mean, the schooling, the practice, the details. I felt like I was well prepared for my career. And I was, academically speaking. But then I started working with people, actual caregivers, taking care of their parent, spouse, child, or dear friend. And I ran into a few situations that I couldn't have imagined of when I was a student. I wasn't trained to deal with the staggering concerns of the people surrounding my clients. I didn't understand how much pressure was on the caregivers who lived with my clients, whose care responsibilities were much bigger, much more demanding than I could have expected. I was naive. In a real way, the healthcare system has been naive too.
There was a time early on in my career where I was reluctant to pay too much attention to the family caregivers. I thought they inhibited my work, or they took too much time from my schedule. But now, however, I'm seeing that partnering with the family caregivers, really building a trusting relationship, actually saves time in the long run. Now, I'm more efficient in my care plan when I include the family caregivers as a partner. That's been a valuable lesson.
Honestly, before my wife had her stroke, I wouldn't have given the concept of caretaking much thought. I didn't need to do so. My kids were healthy, busy. Leanne looked after the house, and she worked at a graphic arts company. I had my job too, and that was life. And then, boom. She had a stroke, and I became a caregiver.
I'm gonna give Mom her smoothie.
Nice. Don't forget to pick up Carly at 4:30.
On it.
We're adjusting. We're still adjusting. I'm so very proud of my kids. Now, they've taken this all in stride. Now they're caregivers too, even though they're young. It's like the whole family. It's our mission, our purpose. We get lots of help from the team, and we're grateful for that. It's good to be a part of the team. And we help each other too. It's like life has deepened now. Does that make sense? Well, that's how it feels to me.
Partnership with family caregivers improves quality of care. Better communication, respect for family caregivers, fostering their resilience. All these efforts raise the standard of quality care.
Hey, buddy.
However, our healthcare system at present needs more role models, more leaders conversant with all aspects of caregiving. Expertise in this area is still too contained and rare, while the need for implementation is urgent and enormous. The challenge is yours. You will be responsible for healthcare to come, and thus it is you on whom we depend. You are each and all on an ever-demanding path, and your best work is ahead.
And
There is a gap between what family caregivers need and what they receive from our healthcare systems. Team Carepal is an option to help deliver that caregiver-centered care. Based on our health economic model, by supporting caregivers with Team Carepal just in Alberta alone, we will save more than $3.5 billion in total economic value. That's including savings to our healthcare system, increased health outcomes, and additional wages back into the pockets of caregivers. As we look to the future, Team Carepal did a feasibility study with the Alberta Machine Learning Institute, and with the power of machine learning, we will predict and prevent caregiver burnout. We are asking you today to see the unseen, educate yourselves on caregiver-centered care, and consider Team Carepal as a tool to help reshape our healthcare system. Before we finish the meeting and open up for question and answers, I wanted to introduce you to Lizette Cloette. She is an occupational therapist and the founder of Think Different Dementia. She helps caregivers navigate the complexities of dementia care, and I wanted her to share how Team Carepal is going to impact her work supporting caregivers.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for having me here today. I am very excited about this, both the app as well as the CRM, specifically the CRM. My business is to help family caregivers of people who are living with dementia, and my purpose is to try to use evidence-based practices or science-backed strategies to do that. And one of the biggest problems I had in managing or figuring out how to do this is, it's one thing to say you're helping people be less stressed, and it's another thing to actually have a way to show people that they are less stressed. And I've been playing around in the CRM for a while, and it is really wonderful that every week, the people can go in and they can track their stress levels. And then, like Cindy said, the gentleman that sent her his stress level, then we can kind of look and see exactly where we need to tailor the help for the person, because stress is a huge big bucket, as opposed to, oh, look, all of my stressors are in the relationship field, or all of my stressors are in the financial field. So it gives us the ability to truly be able to tailor the education and the work that we are doing with people to be way more specific. Another part of the CRM that I'm going to be using with my community is the the social feed type feel that's very similar to Facebook so that people can feel supported in the community. And then also building out the educational component actually in the CRM.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lizette, for sharing that. And I appreciate all your support in being one of our early testers on the CRM and being a pivotal member in shaping its outcome. It's been very exciting to work with you and your clients as well. And so I want to open the floor for any questions and answers that anyone might have today. I know we showed you a lot and your brains are probably going a mile a minute. So please feel free to write down your questions and even reach out to us afterwards. And we'll gladly meet with you guys on looking at your processes and how you would like to incorporate caregivers into your organization more. But please, if anybody has any questions, let's hear them. Or even just a woo-ha. Yes, Cindy, Christina, yes.
So Cindy, thanks for doing this. This is, Cindy and I got a chance to look at the app and play with it a little bit. And I think this is really going to be such a game changer for caregivers. So Cindy and I, as you know, we make videos, we make how-to videos to show caregivers how to provide safe care and keep their loved ones safe during daily care. We try to keep them short so that the people, the caregivers can look at them as much as they need to. What would be your advice for us to get to be a part of that? Because I could see where if somebody had access to our short videos, almost on demand, if you will, then I think that would be great for us to be able to reach more caregivers and help more caregivers. What would be your advice for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're always on my mind with your incredible videos. I've talked to, Stephanie and all kinds of different solopreneurs that, support caregivers, and especially, that transition from hospital to home, and trying to implement those tools that they need and teaching caregivers how to use them properly. I mean, your guys' training videos are pivotal for that. And so we could always look at integrating them into the CRM for our CRM users to share right into Team Carepal. Based on what their needs are, and we could definitely collaborate on looking at what that piece of the puzzle looks like. I'd do anything for you girls.
I'd like to take an opportunity to add a woohoo for Team Carepal here. Yeah, this is excellent, Cindy. That was an excellent presentation. I'm kind of a third party. I've worked with Team Carepal, and they're an excellent company. Yeah, and I'm happy to see so many people here, and I'm happy to see the progress. And yeah, everybody here who's not using Team Carepal should consider it and tell their friends.
Thank you, Kyle. You have been pivotal. Kyle is actually our economist. He built our health economic model based on some of the incredible research that Dr. Janet Fast, Caregivers Alberta, and all of these amazing ladies from University of Alberta have done. He calls it his butterfly model. And I believe Addie was going to share it in the chat. I highly encourage you guys to take a look at it. It is pretty mind-blowing on the fact that our caregivers are getting sick with the amount of stress that they are put under. One kind of interesting thing, women on general, we have a higher tendency. We are more susceptible to coronary heart disease than, men. And then you add the extra burden of caregiving responsibilities onto women. And it was really interesting that this elevated, throughout our modeling. So it was fascinating to see that, yeah, caregivers are getting sick. And, by reducing that burden, we can keep caregivers from having to go to the hospitals or go see their doctors. We can keep them healthy, which is our end goal. Is there any other questions? Yes, Darlene.
Hi, Cindy. I don't have a question, more of a comment. First of all, we're talking here about, so as a neuroscience nurse, and I know we have it, this is a huge problem, and it's going to take all of us working together to address it from the minute something happens. I loved your story. Having been a neuroscience nurse, I've been in that stroke family situation, and from beginning to end. And of course, every time you transition from one place to another for caregiving, there's kind of a break, there's a downfall. But one of the things I already noticed it in the chat here is that whoever you are, whether you're a caregiver, you're a student nurse, and Sharon and I are just working with some student nurses at McEwen right now in this field, and wherever you are, there has to be that opportunity for you to ask a question, because when you look at the app and you look at all the information, it can be overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, and that's, you don't need it all right now, but you really need this piece or this piece or this piece. So just the fact that, anybody can say, I don't know where to go. Like, just say, I need help. And Paisley's there or somebody's there that will say, yeah, we can help you. I think that makes such a huge difference, a huge difference. So I really want to, kudos to you for building that in, because it is a big, it's a big question. You've got a big opportunity. There's so much there. Even the fact that you have this app can be overwhelming. So just be able to break it down and say, I just need this right now today is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, caregivers' journeys are very, very diverse. We started Team Carepal with actually being a palliative care app originally, and we very quickly realized that you can't just support one part of the journey. You have to be able to support the caregiver all the way through. And so it really evolved with the feedback of caregivers into this very all-encompassing solution. But you're absolutely right. And that goes along with our CRM. You don't need to use it all. A caregiver or a support org just, they just need to use what works for them. And that is what makes, Team Carepal brilliant, because it's very malleable and you can use it and create it to how you want to use it.
Say one thing. I noticed some questions in the chat, people asking how they can be listed as a resource or how they use the CRM. So those are two separate things. Just to clarify, the CRM is a paid service, and that allows you to interact, like Cindy showed, with all the caregivers in your network. And being a resource is another thing. We're happy to add anybody that's offering services to caregivers to our list of resources that will be available in our AI chatbot, and that's completely free. So if you'd like to be listed and you're not ready to use the CRM at this point, feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to add you. But if you're interested in learning how you can get involved and use the CRM, you can reach out and we can also set up a meeting to get you involved there. Those are two separate things.
Very cool. Thank you for having us, guys. I'm Paige. I have a question. They're very basic, but the first one is, when did you guys launch Team Carepal?
Yeah, great question. So we incorporated Team Carepal in 2020, and we launched Team Carepal app on the app stores last summer. And we just launched the CRM to a few stakeholders right before the New Year's, and we are launching it currently. So brand new.
Okay, really exciting. And so far, so I know, because we're working on building an app as well. And one of the things with the feedback that we got is that a priority is having it very intuitive and user friendly. And I've looked at your app and it looks awesome. I think it looks very user friendly. But in the next editions, is there any learnings that you guys have had to improve it specifically?
That's great. Yes. So all the feedback we get from our caregivers, we will be adapting and changing out the user flow to make it more optimized and user friendly. When we surveyed the market of caregivers, when I say it was like co-created by caregivers, it really was what caregivers were using. So when they said, most of the caregivers were very familiar with Facebook, that's where our social feed came into play. Most of the caregivers were very familiar with, the map or the calendar on their phone. That's where, we pulled that from. So we tried to use all the different tools that they were already using and incorporate those same user flows into the app to make it, seamless as possible. And of course, we will be, optimizing as we go.
And I think one of the challenges that we have is that every caregiver is so unique and different. So we get different feedback every single time we talk to someone. We're creating an app for 1 in 4 people in Canada that have no commonality between religion, race, gender, age. Anyone's a caregiver. We have siblings, youth, we have elderly that are caregiving for spouses. So it's been an uphill battle in a fun way to try to find at least some of the commonalities and build features in a way that they can be as adaptable and malleable as possible, because it's such a wide audience we're catering to. But we're always open to feedback, and as that all comes in, we are continually making adjustments and updates.
Yeah, Paisley makes an excellent point. Even our messaging, our marketing, when we first came off the ground, we were like marketing to caregivers, and then you very quickly realize caregivers don't identify as caregivers. They are not paying attention to that marketing. So we really had to pivot our learning based on, what we learned about our caregivers, and it was, the conditions, so dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, like those, the elderly. That's where caregivers are. They're in that space. And then also the different messaging from like our older generation of caregivers who might be looking after their spouse compared to young, generation caregivers, like they relate to different messages as well. So it has been a challenge to try to, include them all and figure out, where our top, entrances into the market. We want to make sure that we're supporting all of them. Sana, thank you. Is there any other questions? Because we can give you guys your last 15 minutes of the day. I know you guys are all incredibly busy. We've thrown a lot at you. Again, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. I live and breathe this, so you know where I am, and I think most of you I've talked to anyways. So I just want to thank you all very, very much for joining me today. I've seen so many supporting faces, and I love you guys so much. And yeah, again, just if Team Carepal isn't something, that's a good fit for you and your 2024 goals, we are very fond of networks, connections, introductions. I mean, share us, introduce us to your people, and let's help as many caregivers as we can, because we very much are stronger together. And we're working on some really great pilots and initiatives, and I'm hoping to come down to the USA later this year. There's just some really incredible things going on. So please reach out to us. We are very collaborative, and we will work with anyone and everyone. But yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. We'll get back to your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good job.
Great.
Thanks
Good job.
Thank you, Lizette.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Great job.
Great job, Team Carepal.
Thanks, Sid.